If you didn't have that experience growing up, for most people, we got to kind of see it to believe it.
Yes.
You got to see that example and say, oh, it was my mom and dad. For me, one of them is one of my best friend's parents.
Yes.
They're a textbook example for me. So I have an idea of what a healthy relationship should look like.
Yes.
We have to create that. Unfortunately, if you don't get to have that experience in your life, and obviously that's not your choice, it certainly wasn't my choice, you have to be intentional about finding somebody or couple who can be that for you.
Would you say some people repeatedly engage in toxic relationships or seem to always end up in a bad relationship, or what would be your take on that?
Love that question. I'm a huge believer, and I know I've heard this thrown around before, but I do believe that there's some significant truth to it. That not just the people in terms of like your friends, but also your partners, they're a reflection of you. It's not so much that you have had bad partners and that represents all of the population of who you're interested in. It represents the people that you have chosen to allow into that most vulnerable of space, your
Hmm.
personal life.
Or they
And
chose
so,
you,
go ahead.
right?
No, I
They,
mean, because keep in mind, right? Somebody can pursue you. Like, again, I'm speaking more from male female relationships. If I want to pursue you,
hmm.
women typically will be the one that make that initial determination. Am I going to let you in or not? So if you don't get a good feeling from this person, even regardless of how they presented, you can always say like, no, thank you. And that's pretty commonplace. But
100%.
but when you have somebody like, well, how did I end up with all these? This is a question I've heard. How did I
Mhm.
end up with all these bad partners?
Yeah.
I don't want us to speak in this sort of abstract way. I'm like, no, ask a better question. Why did I allow these people who all had similar traits in common, equally allow them access to me when maybe I shouldn't have?
Exactly.
Like, we have to turn it, because you can't put all the onus on others because
Hmm.
we allow them in. I'm not saying
Exactly.
it's all on us. Some
Hmm.
people do get fooled, some people do get tricked. So
Yes.
I'm not trying to
Tend to
defer from those
swing.
people. Sure.
Yeah.
But in a lot of cases, it's who we allow in our space.
Hmm.
So why am I engaging with people, for example, who don't want a serious relationship, don't want to build a family, don't have themselves financially stable? What I would say, if that was the question,
Hmm.
when you were intentionally trying to date them in the beginning, did you ask the questions about those concerns and determine if those things were actually already set up, or were you maybe blinded by your emotions and simply thought, I'll figure it out along as I go?
Yes. Which
Which I think a lot of us end up doing.
a lot of us do.
And
Put it
then
on
we
the
act,
back
and then
burner.
we get surprised.
Yeah.
She's like, I thought you had this. Well, I don't. I thought you did this. Well, I don't. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, because you got to take more time and like really ask these pertinent questions, man. Like, who wants to have to keep starting and stopping all the time? So take your time and be more thoughtful when you're actually going to go out with somebody.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Oh God. And so what about this idea of not, I guess for me,
Mhm.
in getting in bad relationships, or I would say that I didn't know what a healthy relationship looked like. Right, I
Point
grew
taken.
up with a mom. My dad died when I was young, and so just not having that example, I think, is also
Sure.
another big issue in engaging in these type of relationships and allowing people to, violate your boundaries and things like that.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. I had actually the same experience. My mom passed away when I was 7.
Oh
And
wow.
so very similarly, one thing I actually I do want to mention this just because it's a really beautiful moment that happened recently. One of my two of my clients, one former, one current, just got engaged last
Hmm.
week. And the reason why I was so happy for them was because of all the different hardships that they had to go through in order to get to that point. There was a
Hmm.
lot of intentional communication that happened because we actually rehearsed a lot of it in therapy.
Wow. You help
But
rehearse too what they have to say?
yeah,
I love
because you
it.
need to have these conversations, and I know, like we talked about, sometimes they're very uncomfortable.
Yes.
But the reason why I'm bringing them up is because one of the things I told the young lady, she's my main client, I want you to start surrounding yourself with people who have the type of relationship that you want. So,
Amen.
for example, she wanted to be married. So I said, you should start putting yourself around married women and start asking them questions.
Yes.
What do you do? How do you handle these type of situations? And really try to absorb and soak up a lot of the different feedback and wisdom from their experience, both good
Yes.
and bad,
Yes.
that they can provide to you, because that's how you're going to learn. Particularly like if you're you and me, if you didn't have that experience growing up, for most people, we got to kind of see it to believe it.
Yes.
You got to see that example and say, oh, it was my mom and dad. For me, one of them is one of my best friend's parents.
Yes.
They're a textbook example for me. So I have an idea of what a healthy relationship should look like.
Yes.
We have to create that. Unfortunately, if you don't get to have that experience in your life, and obviously that's not your choice, it certainly wasn't my choice, you have to be intentional about finding somebody or couple who can be that for you, so that when you're thinking about dating somebody, it's like, hey, does that kind of fall in alignment with what I said? This is my example. Because if it doesn't, again, it's a little more quicker to say, I don't really want to entertain that, because I don't think you're going to be able to fall into place the way I'm really looking for.
Exactly. I love RJ how you're really telling us to slow down, right, in these relationships. Ask more
Yeah.
questions and get to know these.
Lots of questions. Lots of
And
questions.
it's hard in 2023 to slow down. Everything is moving so fast, right? And
Yeah.
so we
That's
get
the
in
hard
these
part.
relationships, and sometimes even right, these relationships, these toxic relationships, they can be a distraction, right? That
Oh
chaos.
yeah.
And we stay in it because it is a distraction, right? And the
Oh
whole
yeah.
relationship. And so another thing I read about just people getting in these bad relationships and staying in them, right, is they
Mhm.
feel like they are unworthy of love or a better type of relationship,
That's a
right?
big
And these
one.
are other issues that I'm quite sure a lot of your clients come in and speak about, and
Hmm.
things that you can help them with, and just self-love. Why everybody's talking about that now.
Yeah. No, that's a big one. I mean, I talk a lot about self-care and trying to, like, a small little phrase I always say, and I'll try to make it really quick here, is that to me, in our lives, okay? I'm a man, I'm a father. I'm not in a relationship right now, but if I was, I'd be a partner, right?
Hmm.
What I say is that there's like a pyramid, so to speak, and you always got to be at the top of it.
Okay. All
Okay?
right.
There's no, in my mind, this is my opinion, you don't have to agree. There's no compromise. You're number one all the time. And the reason why is because nobody will know how Sean feels and thinks better than Sean.
Amen to that.
It doesn't matter who you're dating. It doesn't matter how long your mom's raised you, your dad's raised you, these siblings have been around you. Nobody knows what you're thinking and feeling in real time but you. So,
Yeah,
what that means is that in order for somebody like me to learn from you or about you, you have to communicate that to me,
exactly.
right? So you have to have the space emotionally and mentally to reflect on whatever you're thinking and feeling, to be able to coherently share that with me so I can learn about you.
I
But
love.
if I don't do that work, then I, the person who's trying to get to know you, or I, the person who is maybe dating you, I don't know these things about you, which means all this stuff is being left unsaid. And if you're not sharing, maybe I'm not sharing. So,
Most likely.
because we tend to
Yeah,
feed off of each other.
most
So
likely.
then we're kind of operating with these huge blind spots. We're just like, I don't know this about you. I don't know this about you. And we're not really talking about it because we know we're uncomfortable about it, or we're not doing the work, that should be done. And so I'm a big believer in, if you want to develop your own value, number one, recognize that you're first forever and always. And to
Amen.
me, my hierarchy that I tell my clients right now is that you're always number one. Your relationship is number two. Whether
Okay.
you're married or you're dating, that's number two. And then if you have children, the children are number three. And the reason why I put it in that order is because if you look at it from the bottom going to the top, the relationship with the children and the children's stability, that family foundation, will immediately be threatened if the relationship between the parents are dysfunctional.
Yes, 100%.
And then going to level two, the relationship with the parents or the couple will be dysfunctional if we are not taking care of ourselves.
Yes.
You can't expect from somebody else what you don't give. If
Hello.
you don't practice self-care, why would they? If you don't practice understanding your value and taking good care of yourself, why would they?
Exactly. If
So
it's
it
if
very
it's
it
not a
very much
priority
matters
for
that way.
you,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. No,
So it matters. That hierarchy to me is the most important. That's how you determine your value, because then you understand, okay, I bring this to the table. I'm working on these things. I'm addressing these issues because I don't want to keep carrying this extra baggage into my relationships. And then you can be a good example. Again, talking about modeling behavior,
Yes.
I can be a great example to my partner. And now she's working on it. And that makes me feel good. And it makes me feel more accountable to keep doing what I need to do because I want her to also feel accountable to keep doing what she needs to do. And
Yeah.
then when we have our kid or children, even more so, there's accountability because I want him or her to grow up in a healthy environment and see their parents functioning in a healthy way.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
why that hierarchy matters.
And I love the way you put that because it is very important, right? Once
Mhm.
that the family breakdown happens, everyone feels it, including the kids. And
Yeah.
so I definitely agree with that.